we did not address this last week with Rick Butler because all the details were still kind of emerging. And now the picture is a little bit clearer. It looks like things are going to be okay, but this is now the third time you've had a scare with a high-profile player like this. And, of course, I'm referring to what you might call boomers surrounding Boo Carter potentially leaving Tennessee. And, again, I've not seen anything else about him leaving for sure. But it's been a few days now since this news broke that he was flirting with some other places, and it's finally beginning to die down, but it is still concerning, Jordan.
Yeah, I was on Twitter earlier today and I almost got caught. I mean, the page, I forget the name of the page on there, but they were saying that he was returning to practice and everything like per Austin Price, but I did my research on that and there was nothing to confirm that Austin Price said that he was returning to practice. But I have like heard online and everything. I mean, apparently his mom posted on Facebook that she was getting her first three outfits together for the season for Boo Carter. So maybe he comes back, but I mean, nothing's been confirmed as far as I know.
Yeah. What I did see tonight, there was a note from Austin Price that said he was at least in town. We don't know if he's with the team. He might be at the team meeting tonight. Supposedly they're having one, but he has been away. We know that he's missed several team activities, workouts in particular are things that he's missed. So that is a little bit concerning. And we will know more here in the next couple of hopefully days, maybe hours. Who knows? This situation has been ongoing and there have been some fascinating twists and turns. I think there were some thoughts of Nico potentially talking to him out in California, or at least he was rumored to be doing that. We don't know for sure. But also there was some confirmed information that came out. I believe it was CBS Sports that released this piece of news that he changed agents to Omar Cooper from his previous agent, whose name is escaping me at the moment. But those of you who are NBA fans, I know neither you or me, Jordan, really watch the NBA, but that is Ace Bailey's rep, who essentially had Ace Bailey, who was drafted this year by the Jazz, hold out for a while in order for him to get a better deal as a rookie. That's who we're talking about here. A very irresponsible agent that Boo Carter has hired. And according to the old agent, he didn't even know that Boo had signed with this guy. He had stopped contacting him after a while, but there was no communication between the two of them, which doesn't sound great, to be completely honest.
So he currently has the NBA agent right now?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, that's a little concerning. You never really hear much about rookies in like any sport, like holding out. So I don't know. Maybe that explains a little bit of the situation going on, but a lot of this stuff with Boo Carter just seems to be like rumor related. Like you said, like him being in California, I think that has been proven, but like he's been like linked to Colorado, which I don't know if that's ever been confirmed or not. But it's just like an interesting situation. And I know like everyone's just desperately trying to find out what is going on and if he's going to be returning to Tennessee. I know that I think it's been confirmed that like team council has met with I think Josh Heupel and everything and has discussed the situation, which by the way, I think it's pretty cool that Heupel does that he takes like advice from some of the team leaders and everything like that. But of course, you know, like Josh Heupel said before, like no one's bigger than the power T, and that includes me when he was talking about Nico. Hopefully, I don't know. Like, I don't want like there to be a situation where Boo Carter like becomes just a constant topic for the remainder of the season. Like, hopefully, like Tennessee needs him pretty significantly this year. I think almost everyone can agree with that. But if he ends up becoming like a problem in the locker room and everything like that, I mean, it could be detrimental to the team. So, I mean, it's an interesting situation to say the least. And like, hopefully by the time fall camp comes around, like hopefully he's in attendance. Hopefully he's hashed things out. I mean, I don't think anything's like broken beyond repair necessarily, but I mean, he definitely is going to have to like win back some of the teammates, I would imagine, like if he does stay on the roster.
That's definitely what it feels like. He is, in a way, he has strained some relationships with teammates, it sounds like. But you would, again, like you said, Jordan, hope it is not beyond repair, because if it is, then, I mean, what's the point of even having him around at this point? It's just not good for anybody involved. But overall, I think there are some things that you have to discuss about the state of this program, and not necessarily bad things, but this world of NIL and transfer portal stuff that we're living in, it's constantly evolving. And Tennessee has, for the most part, handled it well, but I think there are some things that it can do better to sustain the program here in the future. And I think when you look at everybody involved in this situation, nobody is necessarily free of blame here. Obviously, Boo Carter is the center of this whole thing, and there are some known maturity issues there. And look, here's the thing: social media and game action doesn't tell you everything, but he legit punched a guy against Alabama last year and was not flagged for it. He got away with that in the game. If that happens, maybe the result of that game changes because of how close it was when he did it. Who knows? You gotta realize that the game situation there and not do something like that. He was also the one that got caught doing some kind of TikTok dance by Heupel in the locker room after a game. I think it was Chattanooga, maybe. So that happened. And again, maybe I'm reading too far into that stuff, but sometimes little things like that on the surface are indicative of who somebody can really be. So that's it from Boo's perspective. But again, there are other people involved, not just within the football program, but I think within the athletic program as a whole. You look at this from Josh Heupel's perspective, and look, I have this problem myself, but sometimes I feel like he just constantly focuses on the good in people as opposed to maybe looking into some of the red flags. And in some of these situations, like the same thing with Nico, right? You trusted this guy a lot, and I think he does still really like Nico, but he ignored the obvious red flags with the family stuff. And, it came back to bite this program back in April. And ultimately, he's the one out there doing the recruiting. So I think you do have to think about that a little bit. And, we can't be too critical of Josh Heupel just because he has gotten this program back to national relevance. And I think that is really, really important to understand. It's just, you've got to find a way to see those red flags and address them when you see them. And then the other thing too, and this is not solely on Josh Heupel, I don't think, because Josh Heupel could have some help from above, from Danny White specifically. And like I mentioned earlier, this little rant I have here, Tennessee has done really well in navigating all these new changes in the college athletics landscape. But there's one pretty big thing missing, and that is the general manager in all this. Tennessee is one of, not as if everybody has a general manager, but you look around, like some of these programs like Alabama, Oklahoma, Stanford all have notable GMs, but Tennessee doesn't have one yet. And right now in college football, you are seeing a little bit of a trend in college athletics where you've got these coaches who are leaving to take coordinator jobs, whether or not that's in the pros like Jeff Hafley at Boston College or like Chip Kelly leaving UCLA, going to Ohio State and being an offensive coordinator. They just don't want to have to deal with that stuff anymore. That's why these places are hiring general managers. And, Heupel should not have to worry about all of this stuff. And, you shouldn't have to re-recruit your own roster and make 7-figure offers to these 19-year-olds who frankly don't deserve the $7 million just yet. So while I do think there is some blame to be on Boo and Hype a little bit here, I think Tennessee as a whole needs to get better in a few different areas, just navigating the landscape than what it is right now.
Yeah, and I mean, I think you're on to something. I mean, we've talked about it before. I'm honestly surprised that Tennessee hasn't made any moves with general manager because, like you said, we've seen other teams start to do it. I mean, it seems like it's going to be the future of college football, especially since NIL is here to stay and everything like that. And I mean, I think you have a good point with Josh Heupel too, like, seeing the best in people always and stuff like that. Like, I don't have the stats readily available, but like, just watching games last year, it seemed like Tennessee was penalized an awful lot. And that wasn't something that you really seen as much from some of these successful teams like Alabama and everything like that. So, I mean, not to say that like I know what's going on in the locker room or what's happening in the practice field and stuff like that, but I know like from my experience, like playing football, like you want a hard coach that like still loves the team, right? Still sees the best in you, but you want a coach that's going to push you to your limits and everything like that. And don't get me wrong, I think Josh Heupel is a great coach for Tennessee. He's the best coach that Tennessee's had since Philip Fulmer. But I mean, I personally would like to see him be a little bit tougher on his team, which I feel like we haven't seen much out of it. Like, it would be nice if Tennessee could be as disciplined as some of these other teams, not making as many mistakes and false starts and holdings and such like that. Because it's hard to win a game when you're losing like 50 to 100 yards and penalties each game. I mean, that's putting you behind just to begin with. And I know like his quarterbacks don't turn over the ball much, but I mean, like those penalties rack up too. And like, I feel like it's led to a lot more punts. And like, how often have we seen Tennessee punt in these past couple of years, like compared to when Hendon Hooker was there? I mean, I remember maybe it was the 2022 season or something like that. Tennessee didn't punt but 5 times, I think, like majority of the season. Like, but that seemed to have changed as of late. So, I mean, I start to wonder how hard Josh Heupel is cracking down on these players. And I guess like we might get a little bit more perspective with that based on Boo's situation.
Yeah, I think you're right about the penalties, obviously. Those are very frustrating and unfortunately have been a problem for Josh Heupel and company since his tenure at Tennessee started. But I do think somewhere in there, and I'm not saying you have to be like the previous 3 as far as being a disciplinarian goes, because we know those 3 could be. But you got to find the happy medium, because it doesn't feel like Heupel has teeth sometimes. And I think ultimately that is hurtful for a team. You need tough love every now and again. Sometimes you need to be feared rather than loved, but you don't want to be feared all the time.
Yeah. Like I said, like, I mean, I think he's a pretty good ball coach. I mean, he obviously knows schemes wise, like his schemes well, like especially offensively. And we've seen a resurgence with Tennessee's defense as of late. Like Tennessee's defense last season was better than their offense in a lot of ways. I mean, outside of Dylan Sampson's production and everything like that. But like, you just like to see Tennessee make less mistakes and, just crack down on the little details. I mean, I remember like when I used to play football, like if one of us kept making a mistake, the whole team ran. And, I felt like it made us better as a team. Like of course I'm talking about the high school level. I mean, I never played collegiate ball, but I mean, I'm sure some of that crosses over to an extent. And I don't know. I think Tennessee could benefit from a little bit more discipline. And, like I said, I guess we'll see with the Boo Carter situation. I mean, do you think that there's any chance that he possibly gets suspended or anything like that? Like, I know it's just speculation, but I mean, like, abandoning like team practices and stuff like that, which has been confirmed at this point, that's a glaring issue that needs to be resolved like very quickly. Like, you don't want him bailing on the team later in the season. As you've said, he's already showed issues even before this, like with the throwing the punch against Alabama, the the live in the locker room, which I completely forgot about that, by the way. And I remember when I first saw that come out, I thought that I was like, what in the world's going on? I've never seen anything like this
You're
happen in
just a
Tennessee
silly
before.
freshman. That's what I thought at
Yeah,
first.
that's what I thought too. But I mean, look at where we're at now.
Yeah. Maybe that is indicative of what's going on. And to answer your question about potential punishments, as far as suspensions, I'm not entirely sure because a lot of these kids don't get suspended anymore. It's just not something you see very often unless they commit a targeting penalty in a game. But I do think because we've seen this around different SEC programs, like I think Georgia, for example, most notably when things happen off the field, you know what things I'm talking about. There is a little bit of an NIL pay cut when that stuff occurs. So it's something you can do to help hopefully try and curb this stuff. Off the field issues have not really been a problem in the Josh Heupel era, aside from maybe 2 or 3 instances, unlike what they're doing down there in Athens. But this situation is obviously very, very concerning.